Stephen, thank you very much for your time as we reflect on the Nuremberg war trials, which took place 75 years ago this year. It was, you were very young at the time, the trials took place. I just wonder, at what stage of your life did you become aware that the perpetrators of the Holocaust had been brought to justice?
Perhaps I might have heard about something like that on the news, or people were talking about it, but really the significance of it would have probably come to light about 3 years later, say when I was about 13 years old, when it might well have come up in a history lesson at school. And then they started talking about these people. And of course, these people, they meant more to me than my fellow students in the class. To them, they were just Germans, but they meant more to me than just Germans, so to speak.
Do you have any recollection of the kind of justice you had in mind at the time? What was your sense of justice around that time? Do you remember?
I think I probably would have thought exactly the same as the judges. I wanted the whole lot murdered. Oh, that's not the right word. I would like the whole lot killed. For the misdeeds that they had done during those 5 odd years in the 1940s. And it always disappointed me that some of them got away, but even the ones that got away, people like Mengele, for example, who went to South America, he was never, as far as I'm aware, he was never particularly at ease because he was always looking over his shoulder to see if anybody was going to clobber him or take him away or kidnap him, like they did with the other guy. What was his name again? Adolf Eichmann, who was just sort of scooped off the streets and reappeared in a very much publicized trial in Jerusalem. And of course, then people like Albert Speer, who actually had quite an interesting life after he'd served his sentence. I mean, I can't remember what his sentence was. He wasn't condemned to death. He was imprisoned. But when he came out, he had quite a successful and reasonable life. And when you bear in mind that this man, through the slave labor that he managed to organize, or that the country managed to organize, they sent over all those V1 and those V2 rockets over to the United Kingdom, which caused untold harm and pain and fear among the population here. Yet he managed to get off scot-free, virtually, after having served his sentence.
So when you reflect on what took place at Nuremberg, do you get the idea, the sense that justice was served?
Definitely, justice was served. To those people who were there. I had to feel that there was justice yet to be served for those who weren't there, because of course several people just sort of disappeared into thin air, merged with the populations. But over time, these people have been located and found out. Simon Wiesenthal and the Nazi hunters. And he went all over the world finding these people and bringing them to book. And even in the year 2000 plus, people have been brought to book in Germany and been taken to court. I know they're in their 90s, but they had to face the evils of what they did.
I mean, justice is, of course, a very complex phenomenon. And I just wonder, from your perspective, for a crime as horrific as genocide, what does justice look like?
Well, justice looks like revenge at the time. Looking back as one gets older, justice looks like justice. It had to be done. The sadness of it is that there were so many people that were involved in the Holocaust. It wasn't just all those people sitting there on those benches in the Nuremberg trials. It filtered right down the whole of this sort of tree of destruction right down to, you know, the camp guards. And many of those got away with it and lived quite prosperous lives in post-war Germany. And of course, some even for political reasons. I think Werner von Braun, I believe, who, you know, the rocket expert who went over to the United States, he managed to sort of, you know, get out and not be sort of sentenced for what his part in all this was.
And how often do you reflect on what happened in Nuremberg? And here, I'm interested to know whether you sometimes go back to the archives to watch video footage of those trials.
I have in the past seen video footage of the trials, and I often wonder, you know, what's going through the minds of all those people. If you take somebody like Goering, for example, sitting there like a great big fat slob, and the man, you know, who was going to bomb the United Kingdom to bits, what was going through his mind. And then when you think, you know, when the trial was over, he committed suicide by swallowing or biting on the cyanide pill or whatever it was that he had in his mouth. You know, to commit suicide is something very, very difficult to do. So it must have been, you know, quite a traumatic experience for him, but I'm jolly glad that he had the traumatic experience.
Because 6 million Jews, you know, had perished.
Yeah, and not only 6 million Jews, you know, you've also got to think of all the other undesirables, so to speak, you know, the blacks, the Slavs, the homosexuals, the Plymouth Brethren, you know, I mean, the gypsies, you know, it goes on and on and on, this sort of superiority that the Germans thought they had of themselves, and that everybody else was, you know, definitely beneath contempt. That's the thing, I think, which was the greatest evil of all, you know. And then, of course, you've got just the general war itself, you know. Was it 20 million Russians perished? What for? Where did it get Germany in the end? Nowhere.
Just one final question then, Steven. If a young person came to you today, knows nothing about the Holocaust, and says to you, Steven, what does justice mean in the 21st century? What would you say to them?
Justice means in the 21st century that you have to be brought to book for the sins that you have committed. And one hopes, you know, that justice is properly done. There are so many cases where justice is not properly done. If you have enough money, you can get off, you know, and some of the most terrible people have got off purely because they've had clever lawyers. And that sort of justice to me is complete injustice, but it does happen, you know. They used to say all people are born equal, but some more equal than others.
Especially when there's money.
Yes.
Steven, thank you very much for your time.
That's okay. Right.